So it is time for our Paranormal podcast. I'm Justin.
Yo, I'm JP.
And we got a special guest in studio. Before we bring him in, don't forget to go give us a like on Facebook, to check out our Patreon, like and subscribe, all that good stuff that will annoy you talking about at the end of this podcast. But let's not waste any time with that. We've got Andrew in studio. I don't know if you want your last name said or not.
Fine.
Is it fine? You sure?
Positive. It's Ingram.
All right, Andrew Ingram in studio. Now, Andrew, number one, Andrew's the comic shop owner. You've probably heard us mention him at least a couple of times on here. Nothing too terrible, I don't think, right?
No, usually not. As long as my box is full, brother, I'm a happy man.
Well, Andrew, you've long before we decided to do a paranormal podcast, you told me that you've had a ton of paranormal experiences. Like, you used to live in a haunted house, essentially, right? Did it only happen in that house, or has it been throughout your whole life?
A couple incidences here and there, but for the most part, it was really at that house. That for me personally, like on a daily basis. Yeah.
How long did you live at that house?
4 years, just now moving out.
4 years and just now moving out. Are you worried that something's going to follow you?
No. We solved the problem, but
you solved? Okay.
We'll get to that.
I was going to say, I want to know how you solved the problem. Pull the mic a little bit closer to you. All right, that should
better?
be. I think that should be. I don't know why my mic level seems so low today. Let's turn it up. JP.
What's good?
Okay, yeah, yours is fine. All right, so Andrew, number one, you moved into the house 4 years ago. Take us back to the beginning. What was the very first thing that happened that I guess showed you that this house was haunted?
Well, of course, it's kind of stereotypical. It always starts off like how in movies, it's like, it's small things at first. You think it's something in your head. It's no big deal. Seeing something out the corner of your eye, a white cloud, kind of a mist going by.
You saw that?
Always in your peripheral, never directly in your line of sight, which, I always hear it's some big black mass in the corner and it's spread out. No, it was a white mist for us. And
so you said us, it wasn't just you noticing this.
It was me primarily, and my wife thought I was probably a bit crazy, and eventually she started seeing it too. It started ramping up there at the end.
Now, you've got 2 kids. Have either of them ever noticed anything?
Amelia was very small, but she would be creeped out by some rooms. So I chalk that up to maybe her being 3 at the time. I don't know, but randomly crying and screaming, looking in corners and stuff, that's happened a couple times.
It's enough to freak me out.
Yeah.
And what about your son? He's a very, very intelligent young man. Did he ever see or notice or say anything?
A couple times. Couple times saying heard stuff, something moved, but once again, is that a child's imagination? I don't know. So I personally can't put a whole lot of stock behind my kids' claims, but yes, they do have
and kids think everything is ghost too,
Oh,
so
yeah.
All right. Before we get into a specific events, is there anything that's ever happened in your house that you're aware of? I mean, you didn't build the house, right? You bought it from someone?
We bought it. When we bought it, we were told it was built in 1953.
Okay.
Through talking to the previous owner, turns out it wasn't built in 53. It was added onto in 53.
No kidding.
It was actually built in 1912.
A perfect year for
Titanic,
I
right?
mean, just looking at photos from 1912, that looks like a scary-ass time,
Yeah. It
might have been the terrible quality of the cameras, but still, it looks creepy as hell.
And you add 1912, you add all those digits up. What, that comes up to 13, right?
Yeah, I think
9,
so.
10, 11,
yeah,
12,
that does
13.
come up to 13.
Yeah, 13, the unlucky number, one of the devil's numbers. I'm starting to look into numerology a little bit. Not that I put a lot of stock into it.
Is 13 a devil's number? I just thought it was basically 666 is what was considered to be the devil's number.
13, super unlucky, man.
I've heard that it's unlucky, but I didn't know it was the devil's number.
It's tied in with the evil.
How many
forces.
numbers does this guy get? He gets the number 6. He gets the number 666. He gets the number 13.
Well, man, it's just and again, I don't put a lot of stock into it. And I'm just kind of skimming the surface, but just different numbers have different energies and yada yada yada.
Oh boy,
so yeah.
Very interesting. So built around 1912. So have you found that anyone's I don't know, I hate to sound cliche, but died in the house or had any violent...
Did not look into that. Didn't want to.
Yeah, right. Scared of what you might find?
Yeah. Well, I suppose so, yeah.
So tell us some things that have happened. You used to tell me little stuff, and I'm like, man, like that's not even subtle. It wasn't like some people are like, I think my house is haunted. The light in the living room, I know I turned it off and it was on this morning. And I'm like, no, what that probably was is that you were sleepy, forgot you left it on and went to bed. But some of the stuff you were telling me, like there's no explanation for it.
It started off, one of the earlier things I can recall, we had, when we first moved in, we put up those, I'm sure a lot of people do this, I hope so, those little cheap blinds that you just put them up, and you twist the little rod, and it goes into the, just so we would have some privacy until we can get proper blinds.
Right.
They would get pulled down constantly, and I'd test it, and it was up there pretty sturdy, but it would just get yanked right out of the window several times. So you would just put it up, walk back in the floor again. That happened quite a bit. I don't know, old house, settling, maybe, I don't know how this stuff works.
Right.
So,
now, you try to be rational about that, but you're like, I don't know, maybe there's a stronger gravitational pull onto the house. Like, how do you explain curtains just getting ripped off? And you know that it wasn't like your kid, right? It wasn't like a kid was doing it.
No, they would be with me. Like, I would, at that point in time, I was working every other day at Goodyear, so I would be by myself some days. Olivia was off teaching, and the kids were in school. So I would be by myself in the house alone and see it laying on the floor, hang it up, put it back, and you twist the rod so it tighten inside the frame. Mm-hmm. Leave, come back, there it is again. So that was some of the earlier things. Then I'd say around the fall, I had my first instance where the kids were upstairs asleep. My wife is in the bed asleep. I couldn't sleep, so I'm sitting on the couch playing a game or something. And my bedroom door starts to move. And where the bedroom door is, when you come out of it, there's a set of stairs. And it goes up, and it turns, and it goes to the 2 bedrooms upstairs. When the door moved, I turned my head to look at it, and each step creaked. Creak, 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 all the way up. And then my daughter's door, I could hear it boom. My wife told me I must have been tired, and I agreed with her for a while until it happened again and again, at least 3 times that I can recall.
That almost sounds like a case of like residual energy, like JP and I have talked about how they say that sometimes like when you die, it's not even necessarily like a paranormal thing, right? It's just kind of like your energy stays in, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's one of those kind of pseudoscience things, trying to explain the supernatural through a scientific means, trying to find a rational explanation, even though it's still not exactly provable. Because
a lot of ghosts seem to do the same things they used to do when they were living. Sometimes it's like they don't even notice that people are even there, you know what I mean? Like you'll see hear the reports of like the lady coming down the steps, and it's like she didn't even notice, she just walked right through people and stuff. And so it's interesting. It's almost like maybe someone might have passed, but that was like did it happen? Was it varying times, or did it seem like it happened every night around the same time? Or
it was different times. One time during the day, several times once in the afternoon, once at night.
Man, I'll say if it happened every night at the same time, then it was probably like their routine every night of going upstairs and going to bed, and that just kind of got that energy, I guess, just got trapped here on Earth. But so moving forward, because things, and it almost too, have you ever heard like ghosts will feed off of energy and they get stronger and stronger the more they create, like, I don't know if I want to say fear, but like you noticing them, like that energy that you expel, it makes them stronger, which explains why it starts off very small, because they're not strong enough to really do anything. And then the more and more you notice, kind of like Freddy Krueger, right? The more and more you get scared of him, the stronger and stronger he gets. So things started getting more and more obvious from there.
Oh, yeah. Because soon after that, once again, wife, yeah, you're crazy, you're tired. Ignores me. So I started having problems with cabinets, where you would have a cabinet door open, and then it would be closed, but without the sound, which was weird, because they're the old cabinets with a little magnet, so when they shut, it's kind of loud, and they go ding.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's not easy to pull them open. One time, I was getting in the shower, So I had my clothes. I threw the dirty clothes in the floor. Set my clean clothes on the counter. Turned around, adjusted the water. Turned back around. All the cabinets were open. All of them. And that is 2 on the bottom. The mirror opened up 3 different ways, and then there are 2 above the toilet. And when I say, I turned around, I adjusted the water. Took no more than 20 seconds to feel it get the right temperature, and turned back around. I'm in a locked bathroom, and
wow,
all of them were open.
That is insane. So, I don't know, you try to think rationally, but granted, I believe Andrew, but if it was anybody else, I'd say, granted, they're telling the truth, but what do you think could cause something like that, JP? I mean, if we're taking paranormal out of the equation, what could... You turn around for 20 seconds, you turn back around, everything's open, nothing made a sound.
Nothing made a sound?
No, nothing. Just you turn around and it's almost like you were in another bath, you know what I'm saying? Almost like you just were in a parallel universe as Andrew's bathroom, everything was open, because you think you would hear noises, you know what I mean? If it physically interacted with something, it should make a noise. So what do you think, JP?
I don't know, man. Did you ever hear, was there ever a change in temperature when this stuff would happen, or an odor?
Not at that point.
Nothing like...
Not at that point. Oh, so we're getting there.
It started ramping up. It liked to mess with me, I think. Or see, people talk about spirits. Oh, was it some old lady? I don't personally believe that. Believe what you will. But whatever it was, it definitely had the motif of an old lady.
Right.
Like I said, I threw my clothes in the floor, and that was kind of my thing. Dirty clothes, I just threw them in the floor, pick them up, throw them in the laundry basket afterwards. I would get out several times and find them folded up. Once again, locked bathroom.
And you don't think your wife, was just hyper, super mom mode, was just like the Flash, just flew in there and folded them up, was gone. So was this happening too fast to be her when she won't there?
Well, not too fast. But the thing is, though, it's one of those old doors. It's like I said, it's an old house, and you slide the bolt into the frame. So there's no way to do it from the outside.
Right.
So you're like me, it's hard for you to use the bathroom without a locked door.
Oh, yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, same here.
I generally like to lock the door, but if you walk in, it's your funeral. You know what I mean? But I don't know. So you can't use a bathroom without a locked door?
Nah, man, I got a story about being a little kid and a friend of mine going in the bathroom and watching me pee, and it's a whole thing, but it scarred me. I cannot go without having a locked door. It was the Filipino kid I was talking to you about the other day that lives lived in your neighborhood.
So he came into the... All right, we're going to talk about Andrew, but I want to talk about that on a later podcast. Okay. I want to know why a little boy was watching you pee.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a Filipino tradition or what.
I highly doubt it. I don't think anybody's tradition
No, man, he just walked in there and stared at my wiener while I peed, and I finished up, and we left the bathroom. And
so that just kind of messed you up from there on.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, can you imagine?
I can't, because I never had anybody watch me pee.
Still in the neighborhood? I mean, should I tint the windows?
I think he's in California, but I think his family's still there. His father, a prominent doctor.
Let's hope it's not tradition.
Maybe it was an anatomy thing, I don't know.
All right,
yeah,
well,
curious.
Yeah, well, JP, maybe we'll get you some help for that, because that sounds traumatizing. So, Andrew, so things started ramping up from there.
The clothes, like I said. And the weird thing is, even if some people be like, well, your wife got in there somehow. She did this, she did that. The folding, it wasn't folded like how you would typically fold pants nowadays. It was folded with
the creases.
Like there would be a crease. My father actually pointed that out.
Huh.
So they used to put the crease outside so they'd fold it. It's hard to explain on the mic yet.
Right, yeah.
Doing it.
So you said you mentioned your dad. What did he think?
He kind of wouldn't say anything, just kind of be like, uh-huh.
He's like, your dad used to be a cop too, so your dad's probably like, great, my son's doing drugs, now I'm gonna have to bust his ass.
He's got some stories.
Really?
He's got quite a few stories.
We'll have to get Vic in here. Have it make it a family affair.
Oh man.
Maybe there's something following you guys. Maybe someone from your family that just don't want to let go yet.
You would like his stories though, but I hope that's not true.
All right, now let me ask you. Has it ever gotten sinister, or have you just felt like it's just someone just making their presence known? Because what I'm finding from we've had like 1 or 2 interviews before this, and the last one, well, both of them, basically people were like, nothing, I never felt like it was anything sinister, it just was a presence.
Definitely, whatever it was, wanted to be known.
Right.
Like I said, it really happened a lot during the fall. Like when the temperatures would drop, that's when, like during summer, spring, not a whole lot of anything. You might hear some creaks, might see a door move, but that would be about it. But when you're talking about fall, Christmas, Halloween, of course, Thanksgiving, all around there, all kinds of stuff.
Very weird. It's odd that a season affected it.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Maybe
like
someone out there knows it's they'll be like, oh, it's the temperature, the pressure against the spring. I don't know.
That's exactly how they talk too.
I imagine.
That's how our listeners talk. They're like, oh, well, it's your temperature. But wow. So clothes were getting folded in a very old fashioned way, and I know which way you're talking about too, because my mom and grandma do that. Like, I just take mine and fold them over and get them done. But so right now it don't sound like a bad deal though. You had a ghost that was just maybe going in your cabinets and folding your clothes.
At one time, all the dishes were moved from the drying rack and put in the cabinet, but in the wrong spot.
Oh,
that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, get her straight on where where everything goes, and I didn't invite her back to your new house.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. But then you started getting the gusts of wind. There would be cold gusts of winds that eventually you started to get temperature drops. But it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't at first. It started slowly, and you're starting to think, well, maybe there's a vent. I didn't have any vents on the ceiling, but it was coming down directly above you. Like enough to where your hair would move and you could see your clothes ripple a bit.
JP? Any thoughts? I mean, I know it's not like Mythbusters, but I'd just like to hear your thoughts.
I'm not a climatologist, man. I don't know.
A climatologist. Is that a thing?
I'm sure it is.
A climatologist. Now we just call it a meteorologist, but hey, climatologist.
No, you got a different ologist for wind. You got a different ologist for earth, different ologist for fire, for heart, for all that stuff.
Are you sure we're not just talking about the plot of like Avatar: The Last Airbender here?
No. It's they're specialists.
Yeah.
Fern Gully. I'm thinking of the other one.
Fern Gully. I forgot all about that movie. So, did anything else happen to you?
Yes. Let's see. Olivia started having things where she would get the cold wind. She would get the white mist out the corner of her eye. This would be about a year after all of that. So after she started experiencing things, she started having things in the kitchen. Cabinets would be open. But one of the biggest things is we were remodeling. We were trying to fix that house up. The idea, of course, was always to sell it. But we were redoing a room under the stairs. We were turning it into a laundry room. So we had about 12 different sheets of drywall. Mm-hmm. And 12 sheets, it's got a good amount of heft to it.
Right.
There were several sawhorses, and all this was leaned against the wall. The sawhorses were butted up against them, keep them from sliding, and there were random bits of wood that we were using. So we had leaned all that against this hallway door, and that hallway door is adjacent to the dining room. So we were sitting in there one night eating dinner, and all of a sudden that door opens outward with all of that leaning against it. I'm sitting at the table, my wife's sitting at the table, and my two kids, the only people in the house. It opened up about 6-8 inches and then slammed shut, like really slammed shut.
Holy moly.
I tried to open it from the side and push it, and it had a serious amount of heft to it. I mean, a human could easily do it, but it's still.
Right.
So that was one of the things that started freaking her out. Her phone, as weird as it was, it would randomly open to the messages or the notes. And she got it several times where it said, "I'm here."
Mm-mm.
I think she had it once on her computer and then once on the phone. Now, that could be chalked up to maybe hacker. Who knows?
Even still, that's just as creepy to me to think somebody's been hacked your phone. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It sounds weird to think that this thing that's folding clothes and doing all that and open a door of drywall leaning against it, put a message in your phone and then in your computer, but...
Electromagnetism, right, JP? I mean, isn't there some phenomenon with ghosts and electromagnetic activity?
Kind of like the white noise phenomena, so to speak.
So, I mean, it might be easier for them than you think. You know, they don't have to go through and manipulate it or, like, hack anything for them. It might just be as simple as just thinking it. You know, I don't know. If ghosts are real, I don't really know how their chemistry works, but they seem to be able to do some crazy stuff.
But her phone got the message. Her computer got it, and then we started having our Alexa, which I always kind of discredited, thought was weird, but she has the Alexa, and it starts playing all this vintage music. Like we're talking
vintage how? Like give me even if you don't know the title, just give me an example.
Charles Trent.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
So started playing that kind of stuff, which was a little weird, but of course I'm like, it's an Alexa. I've heard stuff online that they're faulty, and so on the app you can go and listen to the recording of like what was the last command, and it's just nothing.
Okay, now that's a little creepy. Which I think the government uses Alexa sometimes to spy because, man, I'm telling you, like the things that you say in a room that end up popping up as an advertisement on your phone, like there's no way, man. Like I talked about it on another podcast, so I won't go into it, but I've had times where somebody talked about something and then it's on their phone on Facebook like as an advertisement. You're like, no way. So that definitely could be a faulty Alexa, but it is weird that there was no command. It didn't mishear anything.
It had a long audio bit. I forget what the app's called, but it's by Amazon, and you can listen to the commands you gave. There was nothing there, just a blank clip.
Wow.
So you can chalk that up to whatever I do, but I know that was at least a little weird that that's what it picked of everything.
Yeah. Well, it'd be different if you were like, Alexa, play so-and-so, and it played the wrong thing. And then it'd be like, if somebody, you were like, oh, that was a ghost. It'd be like, no, maybe you just didn't speak as clearly as you thought. Or if you had said something to your wife about, I got to move the Alexa, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that there was nothing that's, there to have triggered it to do anything, that's,
this was one of those, the kids are asleep, the wife and I are sitting in the living room. I think we were both reading.
Oh, wow.
And it's a quiet house.
You were smoking your pipe?
Yeah, it was a bubble pipe.
Right, and she was like reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
like 1950s family. Well, that's, I don't know, man. I mean, it definitely sounds like you have an old person spirit.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. The only time I could say anything, 'cause I said it wasn't malicious, but I guess you take this as you will. This was my final thing before Olivia ended up blessing the house, reading all these passages from the Bible. And I know everyone has different beliefs, so take it as you will. But she read several passages of the Bible.
Maybe the ghost was an atheist. He was like, I don't want to hear this, Snit.
I'm out.
No, I'm sorry.
But that's what she did, and that actually ended it. But what led to that was they were out of town. I am painting up the bedrooms. I'm painting Amelia's room pink, Gabriel's room blue. So I'm on a ladder over the door, and I am painting the wall above the door frame. And as I'm doing that, I'm leaned against it, right? The door opens. It opens to the point that I had to grab onto the top of the door itself to keep from falling back. And I can see down, there's nothing there as this door is being pushed back with me on top of it. So I get down still thinking, well, maybe Gabriel pushed it real hard. Maybe they're back for some reason. Maybe they came back early. No. Nothing.
So no one else in that house but you.
No one else in that house. I got down off the door. I'm not the biggest fellow, 150 pounds, but still.
Right. No kidding, man.
So I walked around the house, and that day I just sat out on the steps waiting for my wife.
Jeez, man. So, I mean, you've had some very, in-your-face stuff happen. I mean, a lot of times when people talk about a ghostly experience, you can chalk it up to, man, you live in an old house. They creak, that's whatever. But now I've heard, audio recordings on YouTube and stuff of supposed ghosts, and it is sometimes, where you can tell somebody's mistaken what can be creaking, but sometimes when there's steps, you hear, what sounds like someone walking up the steps versus boards creaking and swelling. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a very big difference between than just something just kind of popping,
Like I said, these steps, you go up 16 steps, then you turn, and then you go up about 3 or 4 more, and then you're on the landing. Because, of course, my dad, he's like, hey, it's probably just, it's an old house. Don't worry. I was like, it was each step.
Right. This is like
the door.
So, it's like this isn't just I'm hearing a few noises. I'm hearing each individual step being essentially stepped on by something.
Right.
It's almost like, though, the fact that, I don't know, it's almost one of those, what's that Nicole Kidman movie? The Others? Was that one where, spoiler alert, Snit's been out for 13 15 years now. But
a while.
They were dead the whole time, but didn't know it. They thought the living people were the ghosts, and the living people thought they were the ghosts. It almost sounds as if that either it's residual energy and then just common things that whoever lived there before were happening, like the door opening. It might not have been that it was trying to knock you off the ladder. It might have just been coming on through like the way it used to, going up the steps, going to a bedroom, and, or maybe there's a ghost that doesn't know it's alive. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it sounds like you could really have one or the other, unless JP's got some insight on what causes some of these things, drafts or...
I mean, I don't know, man. Did you ever get a chance to talk to like previous, the previous residents or whatever?
Just the one.
Just the one. Any weird stuff happened to him?
He accidentally sent a package to the house. So he stopped by and was telling me about the house, and that's when I found out when it was actually built. So we had a little conversation on the porch about it, and he just went about his way. But I wasn't gonna be like, "Hey, dude, is this house haunted? Right. You got some creepy stuff going on here?"
Yeah, shoot, is he a widower? I mean, you think maybe like...
I didn't ask.
You didn't really ask. Yeah, I guess that is kind of a random question to ask.
He's just picking up some
Hey, is your wife dead?
Did you have a wife that died? I wanted to know.
But yeah, after the door thing, Olivia and I think it was like the next night, she walked around with her Bible, did her read and all that stuff. And
I'm curious,
like how... the whole atmosphere of the house changed. Whether it's a mental status, like I said, believe what you will, but the whole... house felt different.
And what kind of verses did you read?
How'd you decide?
Like what do you remember? Like what books or what the verses pertain to?
That'd be a question for her. I can't quite remember what it was. This was 2 years ago at this point.
Because you almost feel like Bible verses, it would kick out a demon versus like a spirit that has no. Well,
I'm one of those. I am a man of faith, so I personally, like I said, it's just my opinion. I believe that's what ghosts are, in my mind.
Demons?
Yeah.
Every one of them? So even if it's the ghost of someone you knew, what you think it's like a demon just taking their form to mess with you?
Possibly, yeah.
That's absolutely terrifying. As someone who don't know what they believe in, even still though, that's terrifying. It's like, Meemaw?
I just don't see, like I said, being a man of faith, I don't believe you'd want to come back to this earth.
I mean, I guess you generally go one of two places when you die, right? Yeah. So there's no like middle ground. Unless you're Catholic, I know they believe in like purgatory and limbo.
Well,
and all
there's
stuff.
that. I don't know everything, and I'm not the most well versed in religious studies.
Well, I know all that purgatory stuff. Like as far as I know, that's not in the Bible. That's just like Catholic dogma. So,
just like the Earth being only 10,000 years old, they say isn't actually in the Bible. Just someone took some dates from the Bible, they thought, and tried to draw a conclusion. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm curious, like, as to what Bible verses would have done it, like, if it was a ghost or if it was a demon. I mean, that's pretty interesting, man. And so how long had it been? How long has it been? You guys are just moving into a new home. How long did you go between the Bible verses and moving into your new house?
Like I said, after she did the whole blessing thing, whether it just put us in a better state of mind, like I said, believe what you will, instantly, like the whole house just felt better, calm. We didn't feel an urgency to want to leave or get out.
Right.
So we stayed there for, a year and a half.
Oh wow! So a year and a half after that, and
yeah, it was a 4-year period that we were there.
No incidents after that.
Not a one.
I don't know, man. That's pretty. Like I said, and it's like you said, and I think JP could agree that. It definitely could have been something spiritual, or it could just be one of those things where because in your mind you think like, hey, everything's better now, you just don't pay as much attention.
I was waiting for it.
Oh, were you?
Man,
just like
I had my little Ghostbusters onesie on. I was ready for something to come back.
Did you have one of the traps? Did anybody else have one of those as a kid where you step on it and it opened up the little hatch and you could put the toy ghosts in it?
No.
I've got that in my mom's attic. I wonder if that'd be worth anything. That's from like the original Ghostbusters toy line.
See, all I got to play with was the cartoon stuff as a kid.
Oh man, I've got like the what was it called? Damn it, I'm drawing a blank here. But what they'd use to trap the ghosts.
It's like don't cross the beam.
Yeah, had the backpack that went with it and everything. So you were actively looking and nothing, no sign that this and that's it. That's interesting. I like that school of thought. So is it refresh my mind on? So According to your like religious beliefs, is it when you die? Because isn't there some sects of Christianity that think that like when you die, you stay in your grave until
Judgment Day.
Jesus comes back or Judgment Day? I mean, but pretty much the religious standard is that when you die, you go one of two. Like you don't wait, right?
Yeah, that's the way I've always understood it. But
that's what I thought when I went to church.
I'm a simple guy who peddles comic books, so I mean, I'm not the expert here,
right?
But from my simple understanding of things, is when you die, you go one or two places,
right?
Well, I know my grandmother was a big believer, like, in the Bible, basically, during the rapture or after the rapture, whatever, like Jesus comes back and he judges the living and the dead. But it was her belief that, when you die, yeah, you do wait until that judgment day, but it's basically like the blink of an eye,
Right, like you're not dead. When you die, it's like you close your eyes and then you open them right back up.
And then you open up
deal.
and Jesus is there, like, just passing down judgment. So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So in your mind, you think it was a demon, not a former human being. You think it was just
in my mind,
some malevolent
my
force.
simple mind, yes.
And you almost wonder, though, being that nothing it did really, other than pushing the door, was necessarily evil, unless, of course, it was just building up energy. You know what I mean? Because
it started off small,
right,
and then gradually, over a period of a year or so, it.
Who knows? It could have been
the two-door things.
Yeah,
were enough for me.
Especially one with the weight on it. You know what I mean? Like that's especially to like open and then slam back shut. I mean, with some force. Maybe it was like banking up energy so that
don't lean anything on the doors. I think was what it was trying to tell us.
Right. It was like, get your schnitt off my door. Maybe it was trying to bake up energy and then just like take you out in one fell swoop. I don't know.
Get this guy.
That's right. Like I'm just banking up my energy for this one strong right hook. And I'm just gonna take his ass out.
I wonder where it got its musical taste, though.
I don't know.
That off of
right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, do you think that, well, I mean, I don't know, the demon on Inception, like tiptoe through the tulips. I don't know if y'all saw not Inception, Insidious. Did y'all ever see that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Me neither.
That's one thing. I'm actually not a fan of like the horror movies.
I have watched almost every single horror movie on Netflix, and as soon as one pops out, I watch it. I don't know. I just I enjoy them in a kind of a. They're not. I mean, some I'm not gonna say none scare me. I ain't that big of a badass. The Grudge scarred me for life, but a lot of them is just more fun to watch. But yeah, and that one, the demon like the Tiny Tim song, "Tiptoe Through the Tulips." So I don't know. Maybe the demon fancied some old timey music.
Possibly.
Thank goodness it wasn't anything like Jeepers Creepers or any of those, like, I'm going to get you type songs.
Do you think if, when you saw the mist, if you had breathed it in, you would have maybe been possessed or something?
No.
So?
It was one of these things, you see it like
it's there and then it's gone.
Probably a little further than the way you guys are sitting right now. So it wasn't anything right on you. It would just be if you held your hands out to the side and you just...
So, but in JP's mind, like, let's just say you ran over there and tried to suck it up. Do you think that it would have...
I should have tried that. That would make for
yourself
a more
now,
lively podcast, right?
It was like a Rastafarian ghost,
What if he did, and at the end of this, he's going to be like, and this mist is going to come out?
Well, surprise.
I know.
So what do you think, if it was a demon, do you think there's anything that kept it from possessing you? Or do you think that, like, I love it getting into, like, because, most people just see it as black and white, heaven and hell. But, some people say that there's, like, certain types of demons. Some are stronger than others. I mean, what do you think kept it from maybe possessing you guys? Or maybe it just didn't want to possess you, it just wanted to mess with you?
I don't know. You always hear things about being Christians and saved and all that it can't happen to you. But like I said, I don't know.
But
even though I'm not
deep,
deep,
would be more the enemy. So it seems like it'd go more so after Christians,
right? Yeah, you think that it would really want to get in there just to spite the big man, like, I got one of your boys.
But I guess then again, people who aren't of faith are weaker, so more susceptible to their evil intent. That's tough, man. That's a tough one,
Like I said, I mean, I don't want to start a big old religious thing on your podcast, but
oh no, this is free. This is free speaking, man. You say whatever you want in regards to whatever that is. That's the point of each podcast, is to give each person their time to say whatever they want about ghosts. If you say whatever you want, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm not telling anyone what is, or I'm saying what I think.
Right.
So, as far as it goes, I have no idea. Didn't think anything like that would happen moving into an old house, even as old as it was, or as old as I thought it was. Yeah, I didn't go in there thinking, oh, this is going to be a haunted house. I'm going to have some good stories out of this. It was just, and it wasn't a daily thing. You would have maybe a month pass between things, but then it did start getting a little bit more frequent.
So the activities would be spread out, but a bunch would happen together, and then you'd be spread out.
You would get spurts.
Almost like it was building up energy.
Right. Now, the question is, did you disclose this information to the new home buyers? Because I know even if you eradicate mold, if you don't tell them there was a history of mold, you can get in some big trouble, pal.
Yeah. Well, I'm still currently the owner of it.
Oh, okay. I thought you sold. Okay.
It's going on the market.
Gotcha. So, are you going to put that in the listing? Previously possessed by a demon house.
See, I don't
There's
know.
probably some weirdos that would pay extra
crazy
for that.
because you get an old house.
Yeah.
Yeah, there people sell possessed dolls on eBay all the time, and people pay top dollar for them. So.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
That might be a markup right there.
Maybe I'm in the wrong business, boys.
I mean, granted, you're going to have to hope you find some weirdo from across some rich weirdo from across
JP, you were
the
looking
country.
for a house, weren't you?
I'm always looking for a new place to live, pal.
JP's house isn't scary, but his neighborhood is scarier than any demon.
Yeah, it's not demons. It's just, crack cocaine. That turns people into demons.
He told me one day, so casual, the other night I heard automatic gunfire on my street.
Oh, dude, there was a shotgun blast just the other night. Like, I'm just chilling watching TV, and it's just like, pa-pow!
Is that what? Do it again?
Pa-pow! Yeah, it was
I love your shotgun impression.
Yeah,
Like,
pa-pow!
That was pretty good. It's dead
Yeah.
on.
They were shooting it from a musket, It's a big cloud of smoke.
what was it called? A blunderbuss? Like
Yeah,
the big horn thing? So, Andrew, is there anything that you left out or anything else that you felt like...
Oh, I'll probably remember one later.
Well, that's okay.
As soon as I'm walking home, I'll be like,
Hey, man.
That happens.
Door's always open, brother.
And I'll tell you before we close off, have you ever heard of skinwalkers?
Oh, yeah. Like the Native American
Right,
stories.
yeah. Have you, JP? I might have talked to you about
I'm
it.
vaguely familiar with them, yeah.
Well, they say skinwalkers are in Native American culture. Now, I've heard two versions. One, they're just malevolent beings. Two, that they used to be shaman who, like, more or less sold their soul and now they live forever. But basically, the gist of a skinwalker is they can take any form they want. But apparently, what is it? They can only repeat the last thing that they heard that form say. And then, like what they'll do is, like, for instance, if we were camping, and that's a story I've heard, is that somebody was camping and this person went to pee. And when they went to pee, they noticed one of the people that was just back at the camp was now like 100 yards in the wood, very like shakily motioning for them to come here. And of course, they were like, what the? Went back, and the person they just saw was sitting back at camp. But a lot of where I'm going with this is a lot of stories too involve animals walking on two legs. Like one guy said he went to go pee while he was camping, and there was a deer strolling through the woods on two legs. Now, as a hunter, I can say sometimes deers do get up on, they'll get up on two legs. What made this different was the fact that he said this thing was walking like it was going to work, like it wasn't unsteady. It walked a long ways on two legs, and it wasn't natural. Like it was walking like a cartoon character. And when it saw him, it let out this weird yell and like dropped down and ran off. But so anyways, last night I'm helping my brother-in-law hook up speakers in his truck out on my street, and we hear something. Like I'm down in the floorboards, and at first it sounded like it was right up on us. And at first I thought it was a bobcat, but then I was like, what the hell was that? We heard it again, and it was a fox. Not only was it a fox 20 yards max from us at a stop sign in the road. I don't think there was anything paranormal, but I've been listening to all these things on skinwalkers like the couple of days leading up to this. And now on the street at 11:30 at night, there is a fox standing in the middle of my neighborhood. I don't live out in the country. I live in a neighborhood at a stop sign barking at us like that loud yell they do. It sounds like somebody yelling for help. And then I'm like, what the hell? So we hit it with the flashlight. And I told Trey, I was like, it's my brother-in-law. I said, if it stands up on two legs, I'm gone. And he goes, why would it stand up on two legs? I said, shut up, Trey. And just following it with the light. What was weird, though, is it did go in my yard, and it got to the point where I couldn't see the fox, but I had the lights on it, and I could see its eyes. And I just held it there, and I was just waiting for it to go whoop and, like, rise up. Gone, man. Do you believe in stuff like that? Like, essentially, you would believe that's probably, if that was a real thing, that's like demons, obviously, right?
I mean, geez, your cup could fall over and be like, oh, it's a demon.
Your wife's mad at you one day because you came in late. You're like, demon.
That's a demon.
I don't know, JP. What do you think, man? I thank goodness it wasn't anything too malevolent. Other than I like to think instead of trying to knock you off the ladder, it was just trying to come through the door. It didn't know you were there.
It didn't like the color blue.
Right. It was just trying to let you know, like, hey, stop. You need to go with a lighter shade.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, Andrew here could have a brain tumor that every now and then he blacks out and folds clothes weird when he's trying to take a shower.
Right.
I mean,
It could happen.
That could happen.
It's one of those things, man. Like I said, if I'm not there first person, I hate to speculate. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you both. Do you believe in astral projection?
No, I'm fascinated by the idea of it.
I've got a book on it that's really fascinating, but just projecting your consciousness outside of your body.
I would say anything's probably possible. And in some way, I would say that would be possible.
Yeah, you project your consciousness because, there's too many instances of people, and again, I'm not really a big paranormal believer, but it's hard to explain when someone is like in a coma or they've had a heart attack, and then they are able to tell people in other rooms, like of the hospital, and they're able to tell people that were in the waiting room waiting to hear if they lived or died what they said. Like, I just don't know how you explain that unless it's all just, and that's ultimately what I end up settling on. It's all crock of schnit. They all just put the story together and got a little bit of attention. But some people think sometimes like haunting is somewhat of like a part of you is outside of your body, and you just don't realize it. What was it? They say that poltergeists aren't necessarily ghosts or beings, it's energy. Like it's, like energy, not so much like the way we think of a ghost. And like poltergeists can be created by like trauma and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's almost like I wonder if, there's a possibility that kind of like a part of you is doing these things and you just don't realize it.
I mean, like I said, I think anything's possible. As far as my understanding of things, I'm first to admit it's small, it's narrow, it's limited.
Right.
I mean, you look. There's a road in our own town that will pull your car backwards when you put it in neutral.
We've got one of those in my town too.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't know what it is.
You know what it is?
It's a demon.
Well, absolutely, it's a demon. The one that is in my town is called Kingswood Bridge, and what it is, if you pull back and you look at it from like a map or something, people have found that what it is like, all right, so it's uphill, but it's uphill going downhill, if that makes any sense. So basically, like the road itself, it might look flat, but the whole thing is going downhill. So even though it's an uphill, it's still like, you're getting, it's like, imagine this is the bridge is in the middle. I'm holding my hands together like a U. And it's like, this is what you think it is, but really what it is this. So like, yeah, you're going uphill, but it's only because you've coming downhill and you're getting ready to go. You know what I mean? That's why ours is the way it is. But it's and actually a guy supposedly, from what my adults tell me, a guy really did wreck and die on that bridge. So that just adds even more to ours, because I've hid under that bridge like to scare people. Like I've had friends I tell about it and they're like, yeah, we're going to go do it. I'm like, videotape it, man. I want to see your reaction. Then I'm down there with my friends scaring them when they get on the bridge. And nothing paranormal's ever happened to us except for we have had our legs go numb and phones go off, but But yeah, you've got Satan's Bridge is here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really so much supernatural. It's just a hangout for weirdos.
Yeah, I hear like Satanists are supposedly there.
You should talk to my father about that one. You should probably get him on here.
Satan's Bridge? Has he got stories?
Well, remember he's a police officer.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
all kinds of weird stuff people go and do out there.
Man, I really want to get him on here now. Yeah, I'm sure as a police officer.
I don't know, story, but you should talk to him about some of the stuff.
I don't know that your dad would want to be on our podcast if he actually listened to it. And I like your dad, and I think he has a decent image of me. I don't want to ruin it with our podcast. So maybe you should just tell us.
No, I'll save that for him. I'll get him to tell you something.
I want to know, man. I think that would be awesome. Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
I am jealous because I really don't. Neither one of us really have any kind of paranormal experiences.
I don't, man.
I mean, well, I do, but not. A lot of mine are kind of indirect. It's hard to explain. I've not had anything that obvious. You know what I mean? I talked about the few that I do have in my first video, but I think one of them is very easily explainable as other stuff. But it's really cool talking to someone that's had these like straight out of a movie ghost experiences. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, if anything else happens, we'll do an update with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, hopefully nothing happens in the new house.
Well, you hope not. We kind of do for ratings, If you were to come back and there was now a new vengeful, I feel for you, man, but that would help our views, right?
Yeah, I mean, we might even sneak up in there and do some mischievous things.
Be the ones causing it.
Yeah,
we
might be haunting you.
Your wife's like, something's in the attic, and you work up the nerve, and it's me and JP up there, and we're like, hey. What's up? You own guns. Please don't kill us. We're trying to boost our views, man. We're sorry.
Only if you have mics throughout the house to re-record it for your audience.
Okay. I don't know. I'd be scared to put mics in anyone's house. 'Cause sometimes I don't want to know the things you hear. You know what I mean?
We're very boring people.
Me too. If somebody put mics in my house, they'd be like, this guy sucks.
I mean, I personally, the government spy on me all they want. It's just my face half the time doing this. So
Just sleeping. As you get older, you love your naps, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I tell you.
No, I've always loved them.
I didn't when I was a kid. They were just the devil. But anyways, make sure to check us out. We're now on, we're not on iHeartRadio yet. I'm still waiting for their approval. They said it could take like 14 days. But we are now on iTunes. All you got to do is search for us, and we'll be the first thing that should pop up. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify, of course, YouTube. Lots of different ways to listen. So check it out. We're going to have at least 2 or 3 more of these. We've got our pal Matt Crowder, who's been on the podcast before. He's going to share with us. He says he's had a lot of crazy things happen. And then one of our listeners, Dan Ashtown, is going to call from Britain. And he says he's got a lot of paranormal. So we're going to get some British ghost stories on the, I don't know how different they'll be, but you know. I mean, I like to think British ghosts haunt a little differently than Pinky in the Air.
Pinky in the Air.
But yeah, so stay tuned for the next one in the paranormal series. I'm Justin.
And I'm JP.
And he's
Andrew.
And we'll catch you next time.